Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
Ham Nation is brought to you by ICOM. For more information on ICOM and D-Star, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. And by Audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, visit audiblepodcast.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, episode number 67, October 3rd, 2012. Big doin's in Starkville. Well, good evening, everyone. No, don't adjust your television sets. This is not the presidential debate, although it's going on right now, but it's all right. You're watching the right show tonight. This is Ham Nation. My name is Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. We have the standard cast of cohorts around here, with the exception of Mr. Heil, K9EID. He is out doing something with the musical world. We've got up in Jackson, Mississippi, our good friend George Thomas, W5JDX. Hello, George. How are you tonight?
Hello, Don. Good to see you tonight. Boy, it warmed up here a little bit today. I've been out at a transmitter site all afternoon and just barely made it here in time for the show.
Yeah, it's been beautiful weather. It rained a lot over the weekend here in South Mississippi and into New Orleans, in fact, but it's been nice for the last few days. I'm thinking about taking the Jeep to work tomorrow. Heading out west towards Costa Mesa, California, WB6NOA, Gordon West. How are you tonight, Gordon?
I am fine, Don. Mr. President, Mr. Romney, begin your debates now, sirs. All right, back to you, Don. We'll see you later on Interference.
Hey, you're looking good. While you're still there, have you heard from Amanda Alden, K1DDN over in Colorado? How is she doing these days? We haven't heard from her lately.
Amanda is doing better. She's on the heel, and poor thing broke her foot, but she's getting better, and we soon will have her smiling face come back up and say hi to us with her pink mic and pink earphones. We promise.
Very good. Can't wait for that. We've got Cheryl Lasek, K9BIK, over in Zion, Illinois. Is Cheryl in front of the camera yet? We will have her coming up a little bit later on for the chat room segment. If not, we'll carry on. We've got big doings in Mississippi this week. We've got the MFJ 40th anniversary weekend. We've got a bunch of stuff going on. Pacificon is getting ready to kick off out on the West Coast, too. So there's just all kinds of ham radio stuff going on everywhere. And why don't we go ahead and get into talking about the MFJ 40th anniversary weekend. George, you're probably a little more familiar with the MFJ thing as you're geographically closer. You want to talk about the 40th anniversary weekend coming up this Saturday?
I'll be happy to, Don. By the way, are you going to be there?
If all goes well, yes, I am definitely planning. It's about a 4.5 hour drive, but the plan is that, yes, I'm going to get up Saturday morning early and head north. So, yeah, I'm planning on being there.
Well, great. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people there. Bob had hoped to go and had initially planned to, but due to this concert schedule, he won't be able to make it. But I'll be there. Don will be there. Tom Medlin, K5KU or W5KUB, is going to be streaming live, and he'll start at 3 p.m. Thursday on his drive up. Ray Novak from ICOM will be there, and a lot of others. And they're going to have a special event station you can listen for. That'll be K5MFJ. Free lunch in McKee Park on Saturday, I believe. Free tailgating for anyone who wants to bring some old gear and trade it or sell it. Factory tours of MFJ, Ameritron, Cushcraft, High Gain, Mirage, Vectronics, and the MFJ Metal Shop. And, boy, those are a lot of fun. I plan to hit every one of them this year. VE testing session there at the MFJ headquarters, and door prizes from all the above companies. So it's going to be a big weekend in Starkville this weekend, October 5th and 6th. I'm not sure what time it starts each day, fairly early in the day, and runs throughout the day. And if there's any way you make it, come on by because it's a great event. I was there at the 35th anniversary, and boy, a lot of fun walking through the factories, getting tours, seeing how they build all that gear. It's very interesting stuff, and I guarantee you'll learn something if you show up. So, Don, we look forward to seeing you there. And I wanted to ask Gordo a question. Gordo, what is that fancy new sign you've got there behind you?
Is this great? It's Jim's Engraving, and he came through. Wonderful tube, wonderful lit sign. Thank you, Jim. Jim'sEngraving.com, right? .com. Wait a minute. I got his card here. Jim'sEngraving.com is where you can get the sign. He doesn't do many of the tubes because there aren't many of the tubes, but there it is. Jim's Engraving, just like yours. Love it.
That's really cool. You know, I've seen one of those somewhere before. And as a matter of fact, I think I had my hands on that tube that's on yours. So anyway, good stuff. They look great. Don?
That's a great. I've got to get one of those signs. That's an excellent sign. I did some redecorating. I took the chart down from behind me and put some QSL cards up. In fact, the one right above this shoulder here, W5PY, is a silent key, and man, he was one of my best friends in ham radio, one of the most cheerful guys ever. If you ever got a chance to talk to Mike King, W5PY, you made a friend for life. He was a great guy. So I got that up there in his honor. You know, I'm really looking forward to the MFJ thing. I have never been up there. I've wanted to go up to the MFJ Saturday in the Park forever and just have never made it. I have gone through Tech. And that was an interesting tour as well. So if you're ever up in Sevierville, Tennessee, you want to go through Tech. But I'm really looking forward to going through MFJ and seeing some friends up there and seeing what's going on there. And if you want to know more about it, I think we have the website somewhere. You can go to mfjenterprises.com, and it'll be right there on the home page. So you might want to check that out. Really looking forward to that. We've got the ARRL. There you go. There's the website right there. All about the 40th anniversary ARRL Day in the Park. And it is going to be a big, big, big doings up in Starkville. Now, we've got the ARRL State Convention. We've got a little video from Julian. Can we go ahead and jump into that right now and see what's going on with that?
Absolutely. Well, we've actually got 3 videos today. The first one, Dale Puckett, I get it right, K0HYD. And before we do this, hey, Gordo, did you get an invite to MFJ?
I didn't get an MFJ invite. I'm bummed.
Yeah, I didn't get one either. Well, maybe it's still in the mail. Anyway, Dale's video from the ARRL convention in Kansas City. Let's run that. Another good video from Dale.
I'm Ron Tremblay, WA0PSF, and I'm chairman of the ARRL State Kansas Convention, and been doing this for about 10 years. And we have a good time here. We got people that come from all over the state and a few from out of state. And like all hams, they like to talk. So there's lots of conversations going on.
This is a one-time-a-year event. It's our annual club meeting, if you will. It's our opportunity to get together with the people we've talked to on the year, or talked to on the air all year long, and give us a chance to lay eyeballs on them. It's an opportunity for other groups to have meetings, discussions, forums regarding emergency communications, maybe operating specialty modes that they enjoy. And it also allows us an opportunity to have a flea market where we can look for elusive parts to complete a project.
Okay, it provides a good chance for us for people to meet people from league headquarters and to get input, concerns and questions they may have in different areas of the hobby. And it's a good people-to-people thing. We like to get out and see what people are doing, different events, and also their concerns, and we just try to promote the hobby, and of course league membership. We invite everyone to join.
Talked about the band plans that we've done for the 4 microwave bands from 33 centimeters to 9 centimeters. These were just recently released by the ARRL, and I've also talked about the historical committee that I've been serving on, and in preparation for the centennial of ARRL coming up in 2014. And we're trying to get the ARRL historical collection in shape for letting people see what our history is, as well as use it for research purposes in the future.
I was the vice director and then director of the Midwest Division, and then I became the second vice president of ARRL. So today, we've had the director from Hannibal, Missouri, the vice director from Cedar Rapids, and Chuck, who works at headquarters but used to live in Great Bend, Kansas. And I'm here from Colby, but I'm here also as the second vice president of ARRL. And it's a great message we can deliver because ham radio is in such good health these days. There's so many wide varieties of things being pursued, and while the internet and the computer age has cut into the ability to attract some of the younger people, we still are attracting some, and we're doing pretty great recruiting people from Gen X and above. And we can use the internet in a positive way with voice over internet protocol and so much energy spread around by way of internet. So the message from ARRL at this year's Kansas convention is we're alive and well and having a great amount of fun.
All right, excellent job, Dale, and thank you for submitting that. We're going to move right on in with the next video, which is all the way from Japan. There's something going on here. All the way from Japan, Kei Yoshihara, JA1WTO. He was lucky enough to go to the Tokyo Hamvention a little earlier this year. So let's see what he got from that show.
Hello, this is JA1WTO 85 Radio Whiskey. I went to Tokyo Ham Fair and I found lots of new rigs at this Tokyo Ham Fair. First, Icon. Icon released ID51. This is dual band D-Star handy transceiver. It's very small. So compared with ID31, you can find how small it is. And also they released the IC7100. This is digital all band with D-Star digital mode and separated model, the control unit and main unit. It can be very flexible setting up at your shack. And Kenwood display TS900 series. Of course, the end of the display TS990, and this display reminds me TS520. And the Yaesu released the FT1D already, and this time they released mobile digital model FTM400D. The display is color, very nice, but still in a plastic box. And wires digital mode, also in a plastic box. And FTDX3000, it looks very nice. So the price is 340,000 yen. And Alinco released software-defined transceiver. This is USA model and display with PC. It's very interesting. So this is my report. Thank you very much. JA1WTO 85 Radio Whiskey 73.
All right, it's always good to have hookups in Japan when all this stuff comes out. So now let's go over to Jim, K5ND. We've seen some of his videos before, including one last week. So this one's all about his Moxon beam.
Hi, this is Jim, K5ND, describing my two-element 15-meter Moxon beam built from plans published in May 2003 issue of QST written by KG4JJH. It is constructed with 4 fiberglass fishing poles, wood with PVC plumbing feed to the driven element, and mop handles. I use it as a temporary antenna for contest weekends. I assemble it in the backyard and place it on a 35-foot push-up mast. I've also used a 20-foot painter pole as described in the article. You can see here the driven element and the reflector stretched over the fishing poles and separated by 2 insulators. Thanks QST and KG4JJH. It has really helped me add countries to my DXing activities and helped me break through to QRP DXCC.
All right, real simple, easy to use antennas, easy to build antennas, and they work just great. So thanks, Jim. We appreciate that. If you have a video that you want us to show on Ham Nation, drop me an email, n3jf@awrl.net, and post your video to YouTube. Send me that link, and I'll watch it, and then we'll discuss how to actually get that video to me. So now, Alex, if you don't mind, there was a little noise problem that I have at my station at home. I don't know what it is. I've looked it up on the internet. Nobody seems to know what it is. So what I'm doing is I'm turning to you guys out there in Ham Nation land to see if you can identify what this noise is. And if you'll play the audio for me. Yeah, that constant clicking, absolutely horrible. It's all the way across 20 meters. So I'm hoping that you guys out there will be able to tell me what it is. And if you can't, maybe this gentleman will.
All right. Well, that's a interesting noise, and that's what we're going to talk about noise next. Talk about noise now. The bane of ham radio HF operation is broadband noise, and we're going to take a look and see what causes broadband noise and ways to track it down. So, Alex, if you want to go ahead and give us those 7-second still shots, and let's take a look at finding noise. First of all, if the noise is in your house with a portable radio, snap off every living circuit breaker. And if the noise goes away on your little shortwave portable operated set, then you found it inside your house. But if it persists, then you better start looking around. Well, if it went off and then came back on when you turned on the noise breakers, we found noise right here in our good old washing machine. That's right, the microprocessor in this washing machine puts a nice set of birdies right on 7250, our morning net frequency. Oh, here's a good one for noise, Julian. Touch lamps. If you've got a touch lamp or your neighbor has a touch lamp, by golly, you'll hear it. In fact, Julian, let me turn up the volume here and go ahead and turn on that touch lamp now and off. And hear the noise come up and down. That is due to a touch lamp. Thank you, Julian. All right, our next noise is one that was traced to, in one of the houses, a electronic thermostat. And the thermostat has a microprocessor, and it too can create high-frequency noise. And the cure is putting little ferrite beads on that thermostat, and that means these little guys here. And those little ferrite beads will sometimes help mitigate the noise. How many of you have dimmers in your house? If you've got a dimmer as a light control, the dimmer's off or all the way on, the noise is not there. But get it in between and the noise will be there big time. Sometimes the noise blanker on your radio can help rid the noise, but dimmers, big cause of noise. The old power lines. Now, this power line is not too bad. This has probably got a couple thousand volts on it, then the transformer down to 200 volts and so on. If you can hear that on a foggy night or foggy morning, then probably what you hear is the same noise, and you need to contact your power company, and they'll write it up. And within a month or so, hopefully less, they'll be able to come out, trace which insulator is crackling, and solve the problem. If you can actually hear the insulators crackling, then your radio will definitely pick it up. This is on 40 meters, and on 40 meters, an S7 is not bad for typical noise. The S7 indicates that you're going to be able to hear pretty good signals, so that should come in. But if your noise level is up at 20 or 40 over S9, 24 hours a day on 40 meters, then you have noise that you need to trace. Oh, look at those. Those are the big 60,000 volts on the top. And those you can hear crackling, then you'll hear it on your radio. So if you have those big, huge power lines up on the top of the power poles and you hear them arcing on a foggy morning, then chances are you're going to need to call the power company and help them get rid of the corrosion or the conductivity that's come up. And these are older insulators now on 2 poles away, and that's where we traced the noise, was to this particular power pole that you could literally hear, and someone said even see the arcing of those insulators. Again, you can take a look at noise on a pan adapter. This is on the new Kenwood TS990. No, I don't have one yet. I'm torn between the Kenwood and the Yaesu and the ICOM. I love all the rigs, but this is a spectrum analysis, and this is showing a signal with not much noise on either side. Of course, the AGC will sometimes drop each side of that signal down dramatically, so sometimes you need to sniff for noise with the AGC turned off. Adding a digital signal processing speaker or using a rig like the ICOM I have here, the 9100 with DSP, will help, but still, again, it won't cover up this kind of noise. It'll just help pull the signal through a little bit better. And some of the ways that we sniff for noise, this comes from ComSpec, and what this is actually a cat or dog locator. Your pet wears a little tiny tag, and this receiver, when turned on, is a great way to sniff around and look for specific noise. And listen to how sensitive it is. No noise, noise, no noise, noise. So you can see that's one good way, and that comes from com-spec.org. And there I am sniffing for noise. Doesn't make a difference what channel. That's on the 222 megahertz band. And we listen for noise close proximity with a ComSpec device. And that little Moxon rectangle antenna does a great job of being directional to pick up the different noise sources. Another noise that we had around the shack here was noise coming from a solar panel. No, not from the solar panel itself, but the microprocessor device in this particular one that would pulse. And while the pulsing is supposed to help charge the battery professionally, each time it pulses, it puts a tick that you cannot mistake coming over your high-frequency radio. And, of course, they indicated that they had not heard that problem before but would look into it. So if your neighbor has that big solar panel like you see right there, don't be too worried, because normally the professional installed solar panels feeding the neighbor's house generally won't radiate much noise. But that's the controller right in the center of the picture there to the right of the power meter. And when you get real close, it will give a little bit of noise. Now, the way we sniff for noise is with a small little Yaesu radio, the FT817. And once it's turned on, you hold it real close to the noise source and do it on the frequency that you're getting the interference on. This is an HF plus V and U radio, so it acts like a great sniffer. The American Radio Relay League has lots of books on solving noise, but they all go back to take a portable radio, put it on a frequency that's just background noise, and then hold it within a foot of a potential noise maker. This happens to be a printer. This happens to be the good old washing machine. And if fairly close, if the noise coming through on your little portable radio is the same noise you're hearing on HF, then you probably found the culprit. Unplug it from the wall. About 2 seconds later, the noise will stop, and now you found the culprit. Being able to solve that culprit, there is no little magic box that you plug in between the power cord. That's going to be part 2 of this talk about noise, but that will require some shielding, filtering, and sometimes just having to unplug the device when you're on the air. So hopefully you'll be able to track down noise. Hopefully it's in your own house, not your neighbor, because that requires some political getting into the neighbor's house and asking them to turn off different things and work working with the American Radio Relay League. They have loads of audio clips of many common noise sources on the ARRL website. So track down that noise so when you tune in, you won't be getting that kind of noise. Okay, Don, back to you, and that's your shorts on noise.
That is some great information, and boy, those power lines, you're not kidding about the arcing of the power lines. It doesn't even have to be foggy here in New Orleans, South Mississippi, because it's so humid. On days that are nice, sunny days, when I have the sunroof open on my Volkswagen, or I have the Jeep down on the top down on the Jeep, and I'm in that stop and go traffic on the interstate in the morning around New Orleans, man, you get under those power lines and you think, is this a safe place to be? Because they're making so much noise, and it's amazing how much RF comes off that stuff. You know, ham radio started with spark gap, and you know, any kind of a spark will just goes all over the place, and yeah, right. Any kind of arcing. That's exactly right. Great stuff, Gordon. Appreciate that. Really, really appreciate the information on the noise. Speaking of noise, I think we have W6TWT Leo Laporte going to talk about ICOM. Noisy Leo, take it away.
Oh, hams. Oh, ham, can you see? You know, they shouldn't set an audience up here because I'm going to do one commercial and I'm going to go into Windows Weekly. You understand that? You're setting up to watch a commercial, and then I'm going to go into... We have an audience for this ICOM commercial. That's how good the ICOM stuff is. We talk about D-Star all the time. I got my D-Star radio right here, my ICOM handy talkie with the D-Star. I also have D-Star in my 2820. I really like that. You know what? I don't have to explain what D-Star is. The thing is, we've really just scratched the surface on what D-Star can do and what people are doing on D-Star. You probably heard the buzzwords reflectors and nets and call sign memories and D-Rats, which is D-Star Bell, spelled backwards. But the D is not backwards. The list goes on. So where do you find out more about this? Well, of course, ICOM America, because ICOM... You know, it was one of the partners creating D-Star in the first place. They have it all on their D-Star page, a really useful tool if you want to know more. There it is about D-Star, all the D-Star radios. There are two key D-Star-related web pages that are not related to ICOM, dstarinfo.com. You could take us there, Alex. And dstarusers.org. Really great stuff. Or just go to ICOM's site and click through the D-Star slide deck menu, which we showed you earlier. DStarInfo.com has a lot of information for new and veteran D-Star users all over the world. It was actually not... See, there it is. That's from the Georgia D-Star group out of Atlanta. Lots of information on the latest repeaters, the new repeaters, existing repeater updates, conferences, the top 15 countries for voice operation. Isn't that cool? Yeah, countries. D-Star's all over the world. There's an FAQ for new users and for those investigating D-Star. And websites... reflectors. Go to the reflectors section, will you, Alex? Show that. It shows what D-Star reflectors are and where they are, what they do, and a report. There you go. Look at all of them. Displaying, ooh, ah, ooh, everyone who's connected through that. The repeater list section has a map interface as well as a repeater list indicating a download page for your favorite D-Star radio. Let's go ahead. Look at this. Repeater list choices. Now, I'm all set up. See, Ray Novak at ICOM there, he made sure that I was set up for my D-Star here. I am set. DStarUsers.org, you want to show that one real quickly? A great source, the oldest D-Star-related webpage. You can look at last heard, the repeater directory. You can watch D-Star grow. It's DStarUsers.org. The amateurs responsible for DStarUsers.org were the first user group to put up a D-Star repeater outside of Japan. So you'll see all of this stuff. The repeater directory, based on system registration with US root, the directory has active links. So you just click it, takes you to the repeater info and registration page. And if you want to check out how D-Star is growing, go to dstarusers.org and click on Watch D-Star Grow. It's like sea monkeys. No, it's not. There are charts showing live data for registered users, new users, and repeaters. Look at this. You know what? It's great because hams are the original geeks, but the D-Star hams are the geekiest of the geeks because they're digital and they're hams. Anyway, it's all at ICOM. Go to icomamerica.com, and you can find out more at their D-Star page. Watch video tutorials. Find out which D-Star radio, I've got two, are right for you, and there it is. And learn about D-Star and how the MCOM community is using this exciting technology. For me, it's a lifesaver because, as you know, we have trouble with HF, but I can use D-Star anywhere with my handy talkie or my 2820. I love ICOM, and I know you will too. Visit ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation for more information and to enter the weekly drawing for ICOM swag, T-shirts, hats. Congratulations to all our winners from previous weeks. And to check out current winners, ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation. And we thank ICOM for supporting Ham Nation. I send you back now to Gordo and Bob and Amanda and George and the Hams who rock this Ham Nation. Guys and gals.
All right, thanks, Leo. Appreciate the kind words and the words from ICOM. You never know what's coming out of that man's mouth. That's for sure. Well, let's jump into the news from Amateur Radio Newsline. And Alex, if you want to roll my video, by all means, have at it. Radio Newsline Report number 1833. These are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, October 3rd, 2012. IARU Secretary Rod Stafford, WD6ROD, reports that the International Amateur Radio Union's Administrative Council will meet in the next 45 days to address the agenda items for the 2015 World Radio Communication Conference. Planning for the dedicated spectrum for university research CubeSats will begin at that gathering.
In an article posted on the ARRL web, Stafford noted, a lot of radio amateurs are aware of the increasing use of amateur spectrum by small satellites, mainly by universities. It is becoming increasingly difficult to accommodate the number of small, non-commercial satellites within the amateur bands. These education-based satellites do not really fit within the definition of the amateur radio service, but have been accommodated there. Stafford concludes by noting that as these issues develop, the IARU will keep its member societies, such as the ARRL, aware of developments with an eye to building the best strategy to deal with those agenda items in a way that is most favorable to the amateur radio service.
That's Jim Dameron in 8 TMW reporting. You'll hear more in the audio edition and find a link to the full article in the printed edition of this week's Amateur Radio Newsline Report. An emergency radio system that's provided a lifeline to Heathfield in the United Kingdom for 25 years is to be scrapped and replaced by cellular telephones. But users of the aging service have criticized the decision to rely on patchy mobile phone service in an emergency. The radio system was created back in 1987 after what had been called the Great Storm. 6 parishes still have the gear in service to use in emergency situations, but the district council now wants to abolish them because they're too expensive to maintain. The council pays £3,600 British pounds a year to maintain the radio gear and a repeater that they're used through. Parish Councillor Bob Wood says that while the gear may be old and possibly inadequate for what they want, the doing away with them is silly. He notes that mobile phone networks can only hold a certain number of calls at a time if an emergency happens. But according to the District Council, the Wilden Emergency Radio Network radio equipment is now old, less reliable, and more difficult to repair. Last year, a survey of parishes was conducted asking which had been active in the network over the past 3 years. Out of the 15 who took part, only 7 were in favor of continuing. So what will happen when the old emergency radio system falls silent? It will likely be ham radio that will be used to augment the cellular network. National Fun Flight Day is an event staged by Australian flying clubs to provide pleasure flights for children and families touched by adversity. Amateur radio will once again be involved.
Amateur Radio began its association with this event back in 2011. That's when the Victoria-based Midland Amateur Radio Club and its station VK3CMZ were invited to participate in the National Fun Flight Day by the Bendigo Flying Club. The Midland Club was more than happy to oblige, and an operating HF, VHF and UHF station was set up at the event site. A handheld in a plane provided communication back to children on the ground. The operation was deemed a major success, and the Midland Committee saw it as a worthwhile national amateur radio event. So it then approached the Fun Flight manager regarding other amateur clubs' participation. And contact information has now been provided to participating flying clubs so that they too can contact their nearest amateur radio club. For the Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jim Meachams at L2BHF in Nelson, New Zealand.
Australia's National Fun Flight Day is scheduled for November 4th. And finally, the Amateur Radio Newsline fan page on Facebook has passed the 1,000 subscriber point. The page is managed by James Pasterfield, KB7TBT, who devotes a lot of time and energy to it. So as we pass the 1,000 mark and hopefully head toward 2,000 or more, we want to thank KB7TBT for his volunteerism in making the page possible and to all of you who contribute to it. If you're on Facebook but haven't yet joined the Amateur Radio Newsline family, you can find us there by simply typing Amateur Radio Newsline in the blue Facebook search line. We would love to have you there with us. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news, brought to you each and every week for 35 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Don't you just love the fresh faces of those kids over in Australia for Fun Flight Day?
Wow, they were looking out that window going, oh my gosh, we're up so high. That was a great shot, Don.
Isn't that great? And it's so cool that ham radio can go out and do things for the kids like that. That's one of the reasons why I got involved in ham radio, is to go out and interact with kids and just show them what a cool hobby this is. And speaking of fresh young faces, let's head up to Jackson now and see what's going on with George, W5JDX, and Smoke and Solder. I smell something burning. George, what you got heating up over there today?
A little bit of everything today, Don. You know, we've been building this, or I've been building the 30-meter version, but some of our viewers have been building the 40-meter and the 30s of that OpenBeacon from etherkit.com. This week, we're going to finish it up. We're going to wind some coils and, boy, just have a big time. Alex, let's have a look at that video. For the past couple of weeks on Smoke and Solder, we've been building the 30-meter OpenBeacon kit from etherkit.com. We've built the power supply, the USB microcontroller stage, the keyer, the oscillator buffer, and this week we're going to finish the unit by building the power amplifier and low-pass filter. Now, as in the previous 2 weeks, there's a number of resistors to be installed and several capacitors. And again, some of these capacitor values will depend on the band of the kit that you're building. So check the chart and select your band, and then choose the capacitor values listed there. The numbers in parentheses should be written on the capacitors. After we've installed the capacitors, we move on to R20, the 470 ohm tremor resistor. Then Q3, the BD139 transistor. This is our final power amplifier. Now you want to be careful. If you look on the silk screen on the board, you'll see that there's a double line drawn on one side for Q3 there. That indicates the rear of the transistor. So you want the front of the transistor with the numbers on it facing the same direction that our crystal is located. Now, after we've soldered all that in place, it's time to move on and begin winding the inductors and the transformer. We'll wind L3 and 4 first, and we'll use some of the red wire for this. We have a chart again, so we select our band, and I'm building the 30-meter version, so that's telling me I'm going to need 16 turns of that red wire for L3 and 4. That should be about 12 inches each, and I'm going to use one of the T37-2 cores to wind this on, which is a red core. Now this is going to take a little while to pull off, so I'm going to start by putting about 1 inch of the wire through and then continue winding in the same direction until I've got 16 full turns on there. Now I need to be careful that I do get these good and tight, but that I don't scrape off the insulation on the wire. A quick count reveals that we have 17 turns instead of 16, so we'll need to remove 1 turn. Now I need to spend a couple of minutes spacing out the windings on the core here to get them even, and we should end up with about a 30-degree space at the bottom of the toroid without any wire. This next step is going to be a little trickier. We're going to wind the bifiller transformer. For this, we'll need some of the green wire, and we'll need to cut a piece of the red wire to the same length. Now, both of these will eventually be wrapped around the dark gray core, but first we have to twist them together. Now, you can do this by hand, either twisting them manually, or the way I'm going to do it is put one end of the wires in a vise, Then I'll use some duct tape to tape the other end to my cordless screwdriver. Now this may take a little longer than you expect. We need to have approximately 8 turns per inch of these wires wound together. Now we need to wrap the wires around our toroid 10 turns and space them evenly. Now we need to take the ends of the wires and untwist them so that we have 2 red and 2 green wires sticking out. Then we'll take one of the red wires and one of the green wires and solder those 2 together so that we have 3 leads coming out of our transformer. Now the shellac on this wire is supposed to come off with heat, but I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and just scrape off a little bit of that insulation before we begin soldering. Now this is what it should look like after you've got everything put together on the transformer. I'm going to tin the leads on it as well as tin the leads on the 2 inductors that we built earlier. Now I understand in the chat room someone had some comments about me using hot glue to stick an inductor to the PC board. I'm not sure what the problem was with that. I've always done it and I'm doing it here again, and I've noticed no ill effects from it, and I don't like those inductors and transformers rattling around on the PC board, so this is one way to secure them. After we've soldered both inductors and the transformers in, we have one final part left to install, and that's J2, the BNC connector that goes to our antenna. Now, depending on what type of solder you used, you may want to clean the flux off. I used no clean solder, so I really don't have to do this, but I'm squirting a little denatured alcohol on the board and using a toothbrush to kind of loosen up any remaining flux there and then dabbing it away with a paper towel. There's a lot of good products for removing the flux from the boards. Flux off is one. So you may want to do that if you used a type of solder that left a particular heavy concentration of flux. Well, we've got the unit built now, so it's time to test it out. And we're going to connect a 50 ohm dummy load here to the antenna jack. And I'm putting a T connector on here because I'm also running a line over to my oscilloscope. Now, you don't have to have an oscilloscope to check this out with. You could also use a meter if you had one that was capable of measuring milliwatts. I don't. So I applied the 12 volts. Let's see what we've got on the scope. Now I've got it set to 1 volt per division, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4.8 volts. So now we can use the power formula, P equals E squared over R. And first we'll solve E squared, which is 4.8 times 4.8. So we've got 23.04 divided by 50 ohms equals 0.46 watts, or 460 milliwatts. Now this kit should put out approximately 300 milliwatts, so we're in the ballpark. Now I'm not really going to talk much about software on this unit other than to say that if you're running Windows, you will need to download the USB driver. If you're running Linux or a Mac, you will not. Once you've installed your USB driver, you'll want to download the OpenBeacon program, and all of these details are available at the etherkit.com website. The OpenBeacon program will allow you to adjust the mode and set the message that you would like the unit to transmit. You'll also want some decoder software for the unit, and they recommend Argo for that purpose. Now there are a few controls on here you want to be familiar with. There is a potentiometer that allows you to adjust the power output of the unit. There's a green trimmer capacitor here that adjusts the frequency of the unit, and another blue trimmer capacitor which is used to set the frequency shift or modulation level, you might say. Now those two trimmers are interactive with each other, so you'll have to adjust back and forth between them until you get the desired result. Now I've got the unit on frequency, and I have adjusted the frequency shift to where I've got approximately 10 hertz of width there of modulation. Now the unit is operating in calibrate mode right now, which just produces a sweeping tone so that you can adjust your frequency shift. Now if you zoom in on it, the display should look more like this. Still, only about 10 hertz wide. So there you have it, the completed OpenBeacon kit. It's a great little fun project, and I hope you've enjoyed building along at home. And if you did build one, drop me an email, george@amateurlogic.tv, and let me know how it turned out and what frequency and mode you'll be operating. Now I need to hook an antenna to mine and get it on the air and let all our fans know where you can look for my less than half a watt signal. Well, there you go. Nice little kit. A lot of fun building this. And I know a lot of you at home built these too, because I heard from some of you on email and on the Facebook page and for Smoke and Solder in different places. This was a lot of fun, and it works. So I am going to be putting it on the air. I don't have a 30-meter antenna just yet, though, so I've got to get that up, and I'll probably put up a dipole, but it's not up there yet. However, there are a couple of our viewers out there who do have theirs on the air now, and if you'd like to listen for those beacons, here's where you can do it. Our friend Dan, NILVS, who does the wiki for Ham Nation, has got his on the air at 7.040. He's running 20 word per minute CW on there, and the call sign to look for is N9LVS/B. And also Bob, WM6H, has his on the air at 10.138. So there's a couple you can listen for, and I'll let you know once mine is active. Hopefully not too long, but I know it's going to be at least another week or two before I can get an antenna out there. Now for our weekly contest. Last week I had the question, what 3 pieces of test equipment did I use when I was on stage 2 of the OpenBeacon there? And it looks like Marvin knew the answer to that. That's WB4OKM. And he said that I used a frequency counter, an oscilloscope, and a ham radio receiver. So congratulations, Marvin. You won the coveted prize of the week, which is the ARRL Antenna Book, edition 22. Boy, this is a great book, and I know you're going to have a lot of fun with it. For next week, we've got another contest, and the prize will come from MFJ, and this is the MFJ 1811 telescopic scanner and shortwave receiver antenna. It's, got a twistable connector on there. It's a BNC. So you could also use this on your handy talkie for 2 meters and UHF as well, just by adjusting it to the proper length. So nice little prize there. And if you'd like to win that, send me an email to hamnationcontest@gmail.com and answer this riddle for me. I used 3 toroid cores this week, and 2 of them I made inductors out of. What did I do with that 3rd toroid core? What was the component that I built with that? So send me your answers, and we'll have another winner next week. And hey, it's always a lot of fun. Now, we're going to be building some more stuff at home that you can follow along with, and I've already heard from some folks on this, so I know that you'll be building these too. And that's the MFJ 913K 4-to-1 Ballon Kit. Now, you can get this from mfjenterprises.com, and we're going to begin building that next week. mfjenterprises.com if you want to order the MFJ 913K. That'll be a lot of fun. It's a little simpler than the project we just finished, but, everybody needs a Ballon. And here's a great experience for you to build your own and actually see what's in there. So join us for that. That'll be next week. And one other thing I wanted to mention before we got out of the smoke department here is our friends at ICOM, Ray Novak and the crew, as well as Martin Jew and the folks at MFJ Enterprises, Heil Sound, Gordon West Radio, Wireman, and even me. I'm throwing in a couple of PL259s for my private stock. We're having a contest over at amateurlogic.tv, so check over there and get the details. It'll be starting on the 15th of this month. We're giving away a complete HF station. You'll be able to find more details at amateurlogic.tv. And we want to thank ICOM and MFJ and everyone for helping us put that on. So if you didn't win that IC 7000 here a few weeks back on Ham Nation, here's you another chance. We're going to give away an IC 7200 this time. So I think that's it from here now, Don. What else do we have?
I tell you, just watching you put this stuff together is gripping stuff. It's gotten me between you and Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, who writes the kit building column for CQ magazine. You guys have got me really interested in putting something together. I've done a little bit of kit building, but you've got me really interested. I'm going to be looking around at MFJ this Saturday and seeing just what kind of kits they're going to have up there that I can put together. Well, right now we've got a word from another one of our sponsors, and that would be Audible. So, Leo, take it away.
Wait, hold on there, Hams. I know they like to talk, but I just want to break in. I'm not going to, no breaker. I'm going to break in and talk a little bit about Audible.com. We've got a great offer for you from Audible.com, the home to over 100,000 audio books. I am a huge audiobook listener. You probably saw earlier today we had John Hodgman on Triangulation. John Hodgman, the PC from I'm a Mac, I'm a PC, and, of course, a regular on The Daily Show. He's got a trilogy of books, false trivia books. They're hysterical. And his newest, That Is All, the last of the three, just came out on Audible.com. And I'll tell you, now this doesn't have to be your free book, but you can get this free, or Year Zero, which is another great book I saw right below there. There's 100,000 titles. Here's the deal. You're going to go to, yeah, that's a great book. Love that, Rob Reed's book. We had Rob Reed on Triangulation. He narrates it, John Hodgman. So I should have asked John about Rob Reed. I forgot. I tell you, if you go to audiblepodcast.com/hamnation, you'll be signing up for the gold account. That's the book a month. Your first month's free, and your first credit is free, okay? So that means you could get That Is All, or you could get the first in the series, Areas of My Expertise, or the second in the series, what is it, Everything You Need to Know, or something like that. Pick a book. If you don't like it, cancel at any time. The book is yours to keep, but if you like it, you're going to love it. And you're going to listen all the time in the car, at work, at play, when you're walking the dog, when you're doing the dishes. I get more reading done during those times when I never could read before, thanks to Audible.com. Check it out. audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. You know, if we could just get ICOM to build Audible into these radios, then I could listen all the time. What a thought. Back to the hams on Ham Nation.
All right, thanks, Leo. Appreciate the kind folks at Audible. Let's see if we can get into a little bit of what's going on with the chat room. The chat room was very busy before the show. I haven't had a chance to look at it of late. But Cheryl, are you here with us? And can we look at some of the questions from the chat room?
Absolutely. Good evening, Don. Hi, everyone in the chat room. You guys that are typing in there, and I appreciate your questions. And hello to everybody in Ham Nation and also in the podcast listening later. So we've got some questions for you. Looks like there's a few in here for follow-up for Gordo. He's got a couple things. Does it matter the size or material of the ferrite bead? That would be from KC7 SDA Art. He wanted to know about that noise fix that you had there, Gordo, if you can expound on that.
Well, you know, there's a lot of different ferrite bead core materials, but generally I like the ones that you can snap on. I honestly don't know the absolute value of the core material, but they carry them at all the ham stores. And the best part of it is you can snap it on, and if you're monitoring with a local radio, you can hear whether or not the results are positive or if it made a difference at all. So I just go to the swap meets or the ham store or go to the MFJ catalog. Be sure and tell him Gordo didn't get his invite and he feels bad. But anyway, go to the catalog and they've got them and they just snap right on. And sometimes they will mitigate the interference right at the source.
Thanks for that. And we had a comment too, Gordo, on your segment there. DG8 FBV, he says, to find noise problems, he brings a portable radio to the electronic shop when he buys a flat screen TV to see which TV is suitable without noise making for the amateur radio in the house or nearby shack. So that's another, easy find. It's a good idea. I thought it was worth mentioning here too. Also, we have our Faust, KI4TTZ. He says, if we're in the market for a new house, I'm probably going to give this one to you, Gordo. What are major things we should look for or avoid as ham radio operators?
Well, I would hope the new house has copper wiring as opposed to the old aluminum wiring that has been pulled off the market for electrical purposes. The aluminum wiring can corrode and cause some heating up and actually cause fires. So make sure it's a house with good copper wiring. And I would make sure that the local power company coming out to turn on the service if the house has been turned off, double checks that you've got a good AC ground that is coming right off of the distribution center down to a good ground rod to make sure that that helps mitigate some of the noise. And again, as our chat room indicated, a portable little radio will sometimes help locate a noisy house versus one that is not. And as long as it's a house without a whole bunch of microprocessors and alarm systems and adjoining units of a condominium that have all sorts of cables running in the attic, then you might be able to get away with a good HF antenna even inside the attic. But if you detect with a little shortwave receiver or that little tiny battery-operated Yaesu 817 that you've got a lot of noise in the proximity of the attic, chances are your house is part of a whole chain of next-door homes where they've run all of the noisemakers in the attic, and that really causes havoc if your ham radio antenna is anywhere near. And of course, plasma screen TVs, it's not the plasma screen, but rather chopper circuits in the power supply to give it the back illumination that creates the problem. So with any of the televisions, take a little portable receiver down to the TV store, and they'll think you're sort of weird. Of course, I am. And that's a good way to check and see how noisy they may be. You'll get noise within a foot of the TV, but if you're picking up that noise 5 to 10 feet away, then that is enough to create problems on the amateur HF bands. Back to you, Cheryl.
Hey, thanks for that. I just wanted to make a comment also for the noise myself. I always get told to turn down all the dimmers in the house, no matter what. You can have them, but off is always a good idea. You said if they're all the way on, it doesn't hurt. But sometimes it probably depends on the dimmer. If it's a lower end model or just something that's old, I don't know. It could throw some noise into the system. So turn those dimmers all the way off. You're going to transmit. That always seems to help. And one more thing for you, Gordo. What frequency is your ham radio net on, and what day and time slot?
Okay, we're Monday to Friday, 8:30 California time to about 9:30, 7250 kilohertz. At that time of morning, we can hear about as far east as Texas. We can hear Hawaii great style and all the way up to the Pacific Northwest. So certainly join us any morning, Monday to Friday, 7250. In fact, next week, as we head up to the Pacificon convention, not this weekend, but next weekend, Don W6 GPS and I will be both on 7250. Julian will be monitoring and talking as well. Plus, we'll be on APRS at W6 GPS. So check us out, see how fast we're driving or slow we're driving as we head up the inland route 395, taking the long way to get to Pacificon, the great ARRL National Convention, weekend after next. Back to you, Cheryl.
Thanks very much for that. I have something that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention here. You might even want to grab a pen and a paper. A lot of times we don't get to answer all your questions here at Ham Nation, but we certainly want to try our best. But this came up at work today from one of the technicians that was looking at this particular site, and I said, well, that's something that I think that everybody at Ham Nation would be very interested in. If you're new to HF, there's good info. I have every kind of link, everything that you could ever ask Elmer, antenna safety, antenna design, everything. So you might want to jot this one down. It's called Ham Universe. So it's got the www.hamuniverse.com, and it will look like something like, I don't know if you can see this good or not. I don't know if that's really something the camera is picking up, but there's so many links in the side, and you can even get these little things like this little thing has your formulas. You can do that. But it also, when you click into the electronics section of this website, it'll say the first 2 links alone can keep you busy for years. You know, it talks about epanorama.net or 101science.com amateur radio. It's just really great all the way around. If you're a newbie, if you want to know more about frequencies or repeaters, HF and shortwave, just everything they've got. Reading room. I really suggest it strongly. So hamuniverse.com, folks. Whether you're new, whether you're old into the hobby, just go right on there. And I do have just a couple more quick questions here for George, if he's online there. George, by any chance, do you have any info on how to connect a small solar panel to a small 12-volt, 9-amp-hour battery during field use?
No, I don't. But hopefully I will in the future. I'm going to be getting some of that stuff to play with. So I would think maybe just put a diode in a series with the solar panel going over to the battery. But I better not say for sure because I haven't played with that stuff yet.
I've had K9 LPK chimed in here earlier, and he said, you need a regulator. You need a regulator, and if you don't have any information, best to just Google it, and maybe you'll find a little more information there, but I know there's something involved with some sort of regulator that you definitely need. And last question, George, from KD7CNH. He says, what software do you use for video editing? Everybody says applause to you, George, for all your great technical videos that you put out for us. We really appreciate it. Applause to you. And if you could tell us what software you use for video editing, that'd be great.
Well, I use the cheap stuff, Cheryl. I used to use Adobe Premiere Elements, and I went through several versions of that over the years, and I just got tired of having so many crashes that I finally quit using it. It's from a different code base than Adobe Premiere Pro. And I don't know, I think they use offshore developers for that home package, the Elements version. And I just had all kinds of problems with it. So about a year ago, I ended up going to Sony Vegas Movie Studio, which is the Vegas home package. And I've been real pleased with it. It works a lot faster. I think it renders a little bit better quality video as well. But it rarely ever crashes. And that's been a big help to me. Now, I'd like to have one of these, $500 or $600 professional packages, but with all the money I make off of my video productions, I probably need to be looking for something open source.
Great. Thanks for that. Yeah, we were having a conversation last night, George, David, and I couldn't believe it. He said 1 minute. Just to get 1 minute of video. That's why I wanted everyone to know on Ham Nation, it takes you an hour for equal to 1 minute to get that part of it. I'm not sure how long those segments are, but that's phenomenal. We really thank you for that so very, very much. Thanks for everything you do. And thanks for watching, everyone. And I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Thank you, Cheryl. Great stuff as always. We really appreciate the chat room coming in. It's amazing the things that they think of that we don't, and to bring everything back in. We've been talking about noise a lot, and Gordon, I had a question for you back about noise. I remember several years ago there were these recreational vehicle antenna amplifiers, I believe they were, for over-the-air TV. Of course, everything is now gone digital, but Weingard, I think, made those things, and they had some issues for a while that where they were having issues with noise. Did they ever get all that straightened out? I think they did. I thought I heard something that they did. Did they, or did they not?
They got it straightened out big time when the Department of Defense got involved and said, excuse me, but you're jamming GPS signals throughout the harbor whose boat has a amplified antenna. Tandy was part of it and several others. Yep. And they finally resolved that interference problem. But it was a low noise amplifier that went into oscillation. And on RVs and boats, if you didn't have GPS reception, you turn off the TV, the amplified omnidirectional TV antenna, and presto, reception came back again. So luckily they got that one solved, and luckily it was not a problem to HF. but a big problem to the reception of GPS. So if you've got an old amplified TV antenna, omnidirectional with a built-in amplifier, turn it off and magically your GPS will hop back to life.
Don,
There
I've
you go.
got
And
a
if you-
noise tip too.
Yeah, go ahead, George.
MFJ makes a device called a directional noise finder. It's the MFJ 856. It's a 3-element beam antenna with a receiver around 135 megahertz where there's not a lot of activity, but the radiation from corona arcing is usually much more localized. And I've heard a lot of people using these and have had good luck, tracking down cracked insulators and such as that.
Yeah, it's a goodie.
Good deal. Excellent. I would imagine, getting back to the amplifiers for the RV antennas, there's probably so many of those that are still out in the field that people don't know. If they have one of those, can they get in touch with Weingart or the manufacturers? Are they retrofitting those or replacing them? Do you know?
You
Gordon?
betcha. They are swapping them out, and they still continue to do so to mitigate any further problems of upsetting the reception of GPS. And so that we'll probably see some on our route up to PacificCon. Remember, PacificCon ARRL National Convention next week, and we'll be up there checking around all those RVs and seeing who maybe has some not good GPS reception due to the amplified antenna nearby.
That's going to be a great show, and I'm really looking forward to a video that you're going to bring back with Julian's help. That's going to be great. So for you RV and boat owners out there, if you might want to check and make sure you've got one of those and maybe get in touch with whoever makes it just in case, and you might get a new one out of it. Yours may be working just fine, but if it's throwing all that noise out there, it might be a good chance to upgrade. Well, we're just about to the end of the hour here. I want to thank everyone for watching and everyone for being a part of it, and all you people in the chat room. We really could not do this without you. We really, really, really appreciate your feedback, and everyone on the nets and everything else. So we'll go around the room here, so to speak, for some final words. Gordon from Costa Mesa, anything final for us for tonight?
Well, we're tuned up on 7268. Let me see if the 7268...
Ham Nation viewers.
He's there.
Watching live on TWiT. This is WT6H on 7.268.
And you know, our net controllers on both 7268 as well as 20 meters 14268 as well as Cheryl and the gang, we could not do all the great work that they do after the net on Ham Nation, where they pick up the net. And
3 check-ins last week.
They had almost 100. So we hope you'll join us on 7268 14268. George, what's the ICOM D-Star setup? He's looking.
He's muted.
Yes, I'm muted. The D-Star network is on Reflector 14 Module C, or listen at wx4adx.com/listen. And as always, you can catch the Echo Link net on Star Dewdrop M Star or node number 355800. And Don, Gordo, Cheryl, had a good time this week. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at the MFJ Day in the Park this weekend, Friday and Saturday in Starkville, Mississippi. And Gordo and Julian, as an unofficial, non-representative of MFJ, I want to extend an invitation to both of you. So jump on the plane and come on down.
All right. All right. Say hi to Martin for me.
I will.
That's right, and it's very easy to get in. You only have to be able to spell MFJ correctly 3 out of 5 times. So that means that I think I'm going to be able to sneak in. All right, George, Gordon, thanks a lot. Cheryl, we appreciate you checking us out in the chat room tonight. So one final word from you before we go.
Well, as always, it's great to see everybody in the chat room. We always want to hear more, and we're glad you're typing to us and writing to us and playing the contest with George. Come back and see us next week, 73, and see me on 3.847 megahertz or 3.850, and I'll talk to you. Take care.
There you go. Thanks a lot, Cheryl. Gordon, thank you. George, thank you. I'm going to try to get on the D-Star net for a few minutes tonight. It's been a while since I've checked into that, since I don't have any antennas up outside in my Jeep with the 7000 and the screwdriver just won't quite make it on 40 with all the pile-ups. But anyway, good night, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time here on the TWiT Network and Ham Nation. So good night from AE5DW and everybody else in Ham Nation. We'll see you later. Thanks.
And we also have Dale, K0HYD in Kansas. So thanks everyone for tuning in and watching live on TWiT. Ham Nation every Wednesday. Let's start the net.